Hi y'all, it's me Eric back again. I know it's been a while since you've talked to me, or I've talked to you guys, I guess. But today I am doing a review on the Ender 3 V2 3D printer. I have had this printer since January. I've definitely had my ups and downs with it. I burnt myself pretty bad the other day on it while I was trying to fix it. So I'm going to go through my experience with it, and I'm actually filming right next to it. So we're just going to start with my first impressions. So it was a relatively simple 3D printer to set up, and I've set up two 3D printers. I've set up this one and my Ender 5 Pro, which is a ginormous 3D printer. I'll do a video on that one once I've used it a little bit more. So it comes in a box. It's really easy to set up, I would say. And so I set it up, I would say, in probably 2.5 hours, but it was my first printer. And the next morning I got it printing basically right out of the box. So I've upgraded it with a few things. I upgraded it with the CR Touch, which isn't a necessity, but I would say it's definitely a good thing to have if you want it. I've also had to replace my fan. I came with a jank one. I replaced my extruder, and then also I replaced the stock Bowden tube. So I'm currently using Spool 3D filament in it. This filament works like a charm on both my printers. I would say that out of the box, it comes really well outfitted, and it prints really well. I'll throw some pictures up of things it has printed on in the first few days. It's also printed some other pretty crazy stuff, like if we just go for a little walk. It, by itself, in a span of 24 hours, printed this. I'll have a link to the model on Cults 3D in the description. When I upgraded it went together super smoothly. Started printing, and then for my birthday, I got the CR Touch, which basically, otherwise you have to manually level the bed using these. But now you get it basically level, and then the printer goes, and you can decide when it just scans the entire bed, but it also just puts itself in the middle, and you take off the Z end switch, the Z touch switch, which is what this cable here is for. And you have to route it through, unscrew the bottom so that you can actually put the cable in. And then you update the firmware, which gives you all of this data down here, the X, Y, and Z coordinates. And then there's a tiny little metal probe in there that sticks out, shoots out, and measures how far it is from the bed. And then I upgraded the Bowden tube and the extruder when I bought my big printer, just because I found that it kind of got jammed sometimes, and the spring wasn't very strong on the stock extruder. But like I said, it's not a necessity. It definitely does print without the upgrade they've put onto it. So then a while ago, it was printing normally, and then the silicone sockets on here somehow got bumped out of place, and instead of a ton of plastic started building up in it, and I actually have the nozzle here, so I had to take that off, get it all removed, and the stock nozzle that it came with literally got stripped around the edges here, that we had to use pliers to pull off the nozzle. So I don't know if you can tell, but there are a ton of different indents on the nozzle. And you can still see some filament stuck in there, which is that little yellow glob. And then it got melted all over the heat block. And then it just kind of wasn't printing right for a while. So then, just the past few days, I've decided I'm gonna fix it. So I pulled it all apart, gave it a ginormous deep clean in all of its heater parts, and burnt myself pretty badly on it because I had to have it at 200 degrees Celsius that entire time I was doing it. And then just as a little bit of fun, I'm going to take my microphone I'm gonna put it on the printer. This is how loud the printer is. I'm right next to it, like right now. That's the that's like, this is the maximum amount of noise. These are the stepper motors that you're hearing here. This is the main fan. Here, I'll see if I can get, this model isn't a good demonstration for it. It's just a thing I need to print. These are some of the other steppers. It makes it really satisfying when you press stuff. It just has a little scroll wheel used here that bumps along nicely. At one point I tried to print out a new part for it, like a new scroll knob. Didn't really like it. The original one's really nice, I found. And then, like I said, this model's not good. The extruder can get pretty noisy if it just goes on super highly detailed models like that. That one there, where it has to do all of the like just a tiny little bit, because it's retracting. But other than that, it's a relatively quiet printer, so like this is it right next to it. I'm gonna go for a little bit of a walk out into my hallway, and I know I can still hear it. The fans mainly, like there's the printer over there, and here's my microphone. So you can hear it a little bit, but not much. And then, so it prints out some really high quality models. I found this one is currently 16% printing. It's just an extender part for a different thing I printed, for one of my guitar foot pedals. And then I've really just been tinkering with this all year. There's definitely a ton of upgrades and a big community for it, so I would recommend it to people who want to get into 3D printing. It's relatively cheap. I got this one from Spool 3D, and it worked straight out of the box. Like I said, it was a human mistake that messed it up, and I've just found that it like works really reliably once you've got it going, and that it can print some very highly detailed models for how cheap it is. It's kind of a better version of the original Ender 3. It's got a bigger display, and the Ender 3 is one of the best selling 3D printers of all time. But some of the cons of it is that the wheels, these aren't the original stock wheels. I just found them to feel very cheap. Same with the springs, they weren't very high pressure. You can see I've swapped them out for some yellow springs in there, to help with keeping it like just that, like the bed's just like as to basically to its lowest position right now, so that I can have maximum amount of printing space. On this printer, I forget what the actual ones are, but I think it's like 210 by 210 or something along those lines. You'll have to here, it says here it is a 470 by 470 by 650 or 620, my bad, for print space millimeters. So that is 47 or 4 point. $47 doesn't make sense, but neither does. I'm just confused. Oh, that's the machine size. Okay. So that's the size of the machine. From here to there, and then this way and that way. That's how big of a footprint you'll need for it. The actual build size of it is 220, so 22 centimeters by 220 millimeters, so 22 centimeters by 250 for height. I can just tell off the little specs card I've got there. Yeah, one thing I would definitely recommend is buying just a nice nozzle kit like what I've got here. If you're gonna buy this printer, along with some good filament, because I found like some brands of filament don't work very well in this machine, just like the no-name brands from Amazon. But as long as you're using like good reviewed, well-reviewed things, it should work in this machine. It accepts 1.75 millimeter diameter filament, and it is I forget what I was gonna say. Yeah. Overall, I'd say like the pros definitely outweigh the few cons. It's a pretty loud machine. This is with a step quiet motherboard in there. It comes with this